seen Jared Bowen? You know, he's going out with Danny Dyer's.
Yeah, the chant is legendary. Get on Twitter if you haven't seen that, guys.
I need to know it. I need to know it now. Can you tell me, or can you not say it on the?
I can bleep it out. Bowen's on fire, and he's shagging Danny Dyer.
Bowen's
on fire.
Yeah, I like it. I do like that.
Yes, people. Welcome back to the We Talk Football podcast. Today, I've got the pleasure of being joined by two very special guests. First of all, I've got Ben Glander. How you doing, Ben?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Thank you for having me on again.
You are more than welcome. And we're also joined by Rory Jennings, the man himself. How you doing, mate?
I'm honoured to be here, but I would just wish it was under slightly more friendly circumstances.
Yeah, it's very it's a hostile environment for you two to be on today. I'm not going to lie. Getting Ben on
enemy territory, mate. Right?
Yeah,
it does feel like that. It does feel like we've crossed the divide. Like this is very much sort of a divide between East and West London. Even the way that we're sitting, we're like sharks and jets, aren't we? Across the table.
I've huddled you two.
Have been drawn.
Yeah.
I've huddled you two on one camera, so you know all the jabs will be thrown your way. You know, I lined it up, in a tactical approach to get Ben on today. So because I was going to throw a barrage of missiles at Kwaku, and you've happened to join us. So
That's okay.
You're brave for doing that.
Yeah, catching the strays, mate. Catching the strays.
So, I mean, let's start with the game. I'll let you Chelsea boys start. What were your impressions of the game?
Well, I mean, I think West Ham were brilliant. I think it's very easy to focus on Chelsea. Everybody's going to want to talk about Chelsea and where it went wrong and why we're so lightweight and why we can't cope without N'Golo Kante. Effectively, one injury to probably is this out of order, Kwaku? But I would say we only have one or two if you include Thiago Silva. But we only have one genuinely world-class player.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like the call for Mendy being world-class, I don't want to be so reactive and based on one game, but we've seen the body of work from the likes of Addison and Ederson. And Mendy, we know that he's not great with the ball at his feet. So the call for him to be world-class, maybe I understand the call for him to be a Ballon d'Or nominee, but world-class might be pushing it at this stage. But yeah, N'Golo Kante is probably our only genuine world-class player. Thiago Silva is a Rolls-Royce defender and he's classy, but I think he's past his physical prime. So yeah, N'Golo Kante.
Yeah, so and the second that N'Golo Kante is not in the team, whoever we put in, it's just not good enough. And what happened is, West Ham were worthy of their victory, but because they won the midfield battle, really.
Yeah.
Like if you look at West Ham central midfielders, if you look at that Souček Rice pivot, that's better than Chelsea's midfield. It's better than
I totally agree.
Ruben Loftus-Cheek, isn't it?
100%. And I don't want to pile too much on Ruben because I thought he didn't have the worst game in the world, but we're asking him to do the job of N'Golo Kante. Nobody in the world can do that, and that maybe highlights our over reliance on N'Golo Kante in terms of he does the job of two or three men, and we know how lightweight Jorginho is, and we know how he lacks the physicality as well. And Ruben's got the physicality, but he hasn't got the engine and drive that N'Golo Kante has got. And it played out on the pitch against West Ham. We just saw it. Our midfield was lightweight, and when we saw that duo line up, I kind of knew it was going to be bad news.
Yeah. Also, going into that kind of fixture, you know, when you're playing away at West Ham United, which, you know, it's not as intense as it once was, but it's still a serious, significant rivalry. It's still East versus West London. The history that there's a real animosity between the fans. The walk that you used to do to Upton Park was probably the worst one. I mean, Tottenham's never fun, but you know, when you come out of Upton Park Station, you cut through the market. It was always a very intense atmosphere, and there is still an element of that. So when you go into a game, a fixture of that spite, of that history, what you're going to have to do, as much as you're going to have to match people for skill and footballing ability, you're also going to have the fight. And basically, if there was a straightener between Souček and Rice versus Jorginho and Loftus-Cheek, like Loftus-Cheek's fighting on his own and therefore loses the fight, and that's ultimately what happened. It was a straightener between the midfields, and West Ham United won it hands down.
Do you think the next signing Tuchel has to make is a long-term replacement for Kante in terms of thinking about the future? Because Kante's like 29, 30, right?
We've got an abundance of centre midfielders though. That's the thing we have, but like maybe their faces don't fit. We've got so many centre midfielders at the club, and people are out known as well. Conor Gallagher's a great example.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
and I think the most pressing need for Chelsea is an athletic left wing back, because we see that when Ben Chilwell goes down, Marcus Alonso's not up to it. He's served Chelsea admirably for the last half a decade, but we just know his legs aren't there. They've never been there, and although he's a threat going forward, I just don't think he's got it defensively. And I feel like when Ben Chilwell's not in our team, we do miss quite a lot.
I don't want the answer to your question, which is like an important one, but I don't want the answer to be about money and signings. I really don't. Like, it will be. I've been scorned by this many a time, but I want Chelsea to bring back Conor Gallagher probably, Billy Gilmore depending on how this loan goes, if not both. I want the answer to that question that you've asked to be one of the two lads that we just mentioned, not Saul Niguez or whoever. It isn't that. It is one of the boys that are out on loan at the moment.
I completely agree with that, and I don't, like you say, Rory, I don't want it to come to someone we're linked with Verratti, and although Verratti is an imperious player, I think we've seen that the youth can do the job, and I feel like Billy Gilmore's loan to Norwich has maybe been a bit unfortunate. We've seen what Gallagher's done out on loan at many clubs, not only Crystal Palace, but he was great at. I know West Brom went down, but he was really good at Swansea as well. So I feel like we've got the players there, and like you say, we don't want to chuck money at it. We've got to a point now where we've developed the Cobham Cubs to the point where we should be able to bring them in. They should seamlessly fit into the side. And we've got Deadwood as well to get rid of. So, like Rory said, we shouldn't chuck money at it. But I do feel like the result against West Ham was very telling in terms of where Chelsea are right now in the Premier League title race.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, Chelsea, on the face of it, like I said many weeks ago, the two teams in the league that I fear are Chelsea and Liverpool. Liverpool for their attacking output and their ability to just dismantle teams, and Chelsea for being this pragmatic side that don't concede goals. Let's be honest, it's unlike Chelsea to concede 3 goals in a league game.
Yeah, well, it's unlike us to concede 2. It's the first time we conceded 2 all year.
Yeah, exactly. But for Chelsea's perspective, I know you're now... you're in the second season removed from where you brought Werner in. Werner isn't being a success. Lukaku's now having his... Lukaku's been injured and he's not hitting the ground running, so to speak.
Straight. Lukaku's letting us down. You can be straight.
You're a blunt force going forward.
Mate, he has, and Chelsea fans maybe don't want to admit it. There's a lot of Chelsea fans, but let's be honest here. We brought in somebody. Let's go back to Timo Werner. We brought in a bagsman to bag for us. He hasn't bagged, and we try to redefine him in his position, being like, he's a left winger, he's a checker.
Mate, as soon as you start, you're absolutely right. As soon as you start doing that, you've lost. I remember when we were doing it with Torres. I remember being just down to the end of my terror with Torres. Never as bad as it has been with Werner with Torres. But when I was just this guy's done.
Yeah.
And people would always make cases for him about things that didn't matter. About things where you were just like, what are you talking about? We bought him to score goals, and now you're telling me that he draws free kicks. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah, he wins loads of corners, mate. But what are you doing? Yeah, you're redefining it, and you're bang on. Werner came in, and people were thinking, golden boot. He's obviously not getting a golden boot. So people start telling you, oh yeah, but he's very integral to the way we play football. But so's everybody. So's whoever played in that position. Yeah. So you're bang on with that.
And then you come back to Lukaku, who again we brought him in for big money, expecting him to bag. He started like a house on fire, and I know the injury's coming, but before the injury, mate, he was looking a little bit off it. And I think the Brentford game was telling for me because we only won that game because incredible saves that Mendy made. But there's some touches from Lukaku that were reminiscent of Man United Lukaku when people were laughing about him wearing Timberlands. And I feel like Chelsea fans saw that. And we know with Chelsea strikers, they're built differently. We don't expect somebody to go out there and give us 30 goals a season. Drogba's best season at Chelsea scored 29 league goals, and Costa's best league season scored 20 league goals. But that wasn't consistent for Drogba. He had 1 or 2 good seasons. He had 2 amazing seasons. We don't expect bagsman. We expect somebody who can, if they're not scoring goals, they can occupy the defenders, they can bring other people into play. And Lukaku, I know he's just come back from injury, but he doesn't look like he's doing that at the moment. He looks like he stifles us going forward. So it remains to be seen. I don't want to write him off, and I'm like Chicken Little here. I'm like, the sky's falling. It's not falling. We've lost 1 league game. But we lost 2 league games this season. But having looked at the Manchester United game, having looked at the Watford game, and having looked at the game that we lost on the weekend to you boys, it doesn't look good, and I don't think we are title challengers this season.
And just to jump on your point there, it's very valid that in the historical blueprint for a Chelsea striker, is to hold the ball and bring up other players into the game. But those players you just mentioned, Didier Drogba, he was the beneficiary of being in a team with other players that scored goals. Frank Lampard, one of the greatest goal-scoring Premier League midfielders of all time. Chelsea don't have that now. So if they're not getting the goals from the striker, where are the goals coming from?
Well, this is the problem. I mean, look, it's hard to make this argument too strongly because we have a lot of different goal scorers in the team. This year, I mean, in terms of the volume of players that have scored, I don't know the exact fact, but I wouldn't be surprised if more than 16 players had scored this season for Chelsea. We have a lot of goal scorers across the team. When you think we beat Norwich fairly recently, I think we put 7 past them, and it was an own goal and then 6 different goal scorers. Yeah. So lots of people have registered, and therefore you can kind of go, the goals are being shared out amongst the team, and therefore what you're moaning about, but it isn't quite true. I'd say Kovacic, Kante, Jorginho, you probably add Loftus-Cheek into it, we'll get 10 between them. When you think about Chelsea dominant era, Lampard, Essien, Ballack, we'll hit 60.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
We'll hit
That's
60.
what I'm saying. And those Didier Drogba, Costa were inside. Costa was in a side that had Eden Hazard in his pomp. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. There isn't enough goals in the team, is there?
No, let's not forget as well that there was a point where we had Nicolas Anelka up front next to Didier Drogba, and then we had Salomon Kalou chipping with goals. We don't get enough goals from our forward players, and it's frustrating. And I don't want to write players off yet. Kai Havertz obviously scored the winning goal in the Champions League final. Hakim Ziyech got the assist for Mason Mount's brilliant goal on the weekend.
Yeah,
but I'm not seeing enough from these players. And like Chelsea teams that I recognise, Chelsea heritage is being physical, getting to your man, making sure you don't lose a physicality battle in the game, and we're losing at the moment. Every time I see Kai Havertz, he's on the floor. I know he got taken off injured. He's flimsy, man. And so is Hakim Ziyech.
I was so expectant of Kai Havertz this year. You know when you scored a winner in a Champions League final?
Yeah.
You thought he was going to kick on?
Yeah.
Is there a better platform to launch yourself into the consciousness? I'm talking like he could and probably should. Off the back of that goal, he has won the Champions League for his team in his debut season.
Mm-hmm.
If that isn't the perfect foundation to launch yourself into this season and become the guy, like the when people are the guy that people are talking about today. You know the way people are talking about Bernardo Silva today.
Yeah,
rightly so, by the way, baller.
Yeah,
but that's how I hoped Kai Havertz was going to be lauded this season.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that is the first. I've just mentioned Kai Havertz and Bernardo Silva in the same breath. That's the first time that's ever happened in the whole history of the world. And it's incorrect.
Well, one thing I would say that Havertz has on his side, as much as Silva is performing at ridiculously high levels at the moment, Kai Havertz is still very young. He's still in the formative ages of his career, and he does have plenty of years to develop. His first season was in a COVID dominated league. He's very isolated coming into a new country.
I don't buy into the youth though, because when you buy someone for so much money, like I don't give Jadon Sancho leeway. You bought for so much money. You really and truly, your valuation's over 100 mil. Man United's weight of the year took like 25 mil off the price.
Okay.
Like you are expected to perform straight away if you're bought for that much money. If like Haaland, who's on Monday Night Football this week, if he was to come to any Premier League club, we're not giving him any leeway.
No.
If he doesn't hit the ground running, we're criticising him.
You're bang on, because the other thing is you can be a very young man but a very experienced footballer.
That's
and
true.
Kai Havertz is a very young man, and you're right, he will develop physically and all of that, but he's not a young footballer.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very experienced footballer.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of appearances, a lot of goals, a lot of caps. He isn't one that we can give the time to. So I would even say that about somebody as young as Billy Gilmour. Like Billy Gilmour is a very experienced footballer. Billy Gilmour has played for Scotland at Wembley against England and won man of the match.
True.
That means that we judge Billy Gilmour in the same way that you judge John McGinn. You judge them in the same way because they have effectively had the same experience. Not as much, but I don't think that you give somebody leeway who's had 7 appearances or 70. Mm.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there's two 22-year-olds that were on the pitch that both performed at incredibly high levels. Declan Rice for West Ham and Mason Mount for Chelsea. As they're performing week in, week out. Declan Rice has got over 150 Premier League appearances already. He's a young man with with plenty of experience.
That's Rory's prime example of a young footballer who's experienced.
Some would say the best midfielder on the pitch, but
I would say the best midfielder on the pitch.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And then I would say Thomas Souček.
So
all for that opinion.
Short term, what do you think is the solution for Chelsea? Is it a formation change, like to a 4-3-3, to be a little bit more expansive, or do you think Tuchel will stick to 5?
I think stick with 5, but we need to get men back from injury. We need to get N'Golo Kante back. That's what, because I feel like if Chelsea are to go on and win this league, which I don't think we can do after seeing Man City and Liverpool, I feel like it's about not dropping points in the games that are not the big games. So I think that we can go and get done by Liverpool at Stamford Bridge. I reckon we can go and get done badly by City at Etihad. But I feel like where we could come up trumps is not losing the rest of the games and winning the rest of the games. But if we're losing to West Ham, no disrespect to West Ham, you have beaten Liverpool this season. You are a really good side.
And Man City in the cup, just to add that in.
And Man United in the cup while we're at it.
Just to dribble that in there,
But Chelsea cannot be taking the lead against West Ham twice and losing that game 3-2. A draw, worst case scenario. You can't be losing that game 3-2.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable. And I feel like that's where we're going to fall down. If we're going to start dropping points against teams like West Ham, then we're not going to win the league this season. We talk Chelsea. I think we should move on to a bit of West Ham because you guys did that.
I agree, mate. You're right. Because this is the problem when everybody wants to talk about Chelsea, and it's not fair because West Ham were fantastic.
I'll be completely honest. I don't think we played that well.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that. I know what you're doing.
I don't think we played that well.
We know what you're doing. We didn't even play well and we beat you. Do you know how bad you must be?
A game come down to, a left, right, good night from Masawaku in the last few seconds. Did he mean it, first of all?
No, he tweeted it out saying, I was as surprised as everyone else they went in. And you could tell by his celebration, because if it was a screamer, 86th, 87th minute, you're doing laps at that
totally
stadium.
disagree with everything he's done there. The
Really?
lack of celebration and the tweet.
Oh, I'm doing laps, whether I meant it or not. I'm running.
Shirt off, high fives, yeah.
Going back to Chelsea for the last time, remember Zappa Costa in Champions
Yeah.
League?
And we beat him 6-1.
It was a cross, and he gave it the big, and I respected that. I was like, fair play, mate. Like, you've got to milk that, because that's going to be your only moment with Chelsea. And I don't like the fact he tweeted out that he didn't mean it.
Oh, he should have said it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I saw
100%.
what he should have given it is, I saw that there was one place that I could put it to beat the keeper, and I went for it.
Yeah, well, he put Reece James in his pocket. He should have said that.
Oh, wow.
Hey, what about the thing? Did you see Lanzini and James?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
when you, mate.
It was because the reason why, because there's like a screenshot. Apparently, Reece James, as he's taking a penalty, he's literally shouting at him, like obviously trying to put him off.
As he's running up to kick.
There's a screenshot literally like Reece James like obviously where he's just giving verbal, and then but to be fair, even if Reece James give it verbal, I still wouldn't have squared up to him.
No, this is why I rate Lanzini.
No, I rate Lens. Yeah.
I was working for that game, and on the stream I went, don't do that. Don't do that. Like Reece James is solid. Do you know what happened with James? You know why he's like part of why he's so solid? So solid. A nice homage to Gary. No, do you know why though? When he was coming through with Jody Morris was aware that he was so physical and he was used to being so much stronger than everyone when he was in the youth ranks. But it's different, isn't it, when you then step up to go against the men? And he was getting bullied a little bit because he thought he could over physical it, and then like a 28-year-old or 33-year-old was just like slapping him up. Jody Morris sent him off. Do you remember Jamie Lawrence? He went to Nick actually, but do you remember it? He played for Bradford, had mad hair, used to dye his hair. I'll show you a picture of him. Right, Jamie Lawrence. Anyway, he went to prison. He had his moments, but he was also a brilliant footballer. He runs like a fitness boot camp for footballers.
Right.
Reece James got slung up to Bradford, I think,
Wow.
to go and have like a boot camp and get hard.
Mm.
Because like hard for a man, not hard for a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And that's why he's now so.
You can see it in
so
as well.
up for it.
It's just not. Yeah, it's not even his physicality. It's the mentality. It's just like. But the fact that Lanzini squared up to him.
Brave, man.
Hey, mate, he
Did you like that Lanzini? I don't think he was.
he's got a bit.
But
Has he?
I
He's
think
got a bit. He's
Argentinian.
He's South American, mate. He's built different.
Is like West Ham's performance though, because Antonio was bullying our back three,
Yeah.
occupying back three, and I feel like from your point of view as a West Ham fan. Obviously, you say you didn't play that well, but to not play that well, score 3 goals against the best defensive league team in the country must have felt like a buzz to you boys.
Yeah, I mean, it's just becoming a normality now to win at home, isn't it? Then?
Which
See,
is
this
absolutely
is the
massive.
problem. See, this is the problem. This is where it all comes crashing down. You get
Yeah.
a couple of good results.
No humility.
A couple of good results, and suddenly you're massive and all that. That's Jamie. Do you remember Jamie Lawrence?
Oh, I do remember Jamie.
Oh yeah, I do.
I'll show
Yeah,
you
yeah.
For the clip. Is he on?
I think he's
But
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was the one. But no, look, it was a massive result for you, and
Yeah, it's a huge result.
massive result.
We
but not
needed
a massive
it.
club.
We needed it because like the last couple of weeks, Brighton at home, and we've always struggled against Brighton. We haven't beaten them in the Premier League, and we could have won the game, but we struggled for a lot of that game. And Antonio hasn't scored, I think, in like 7 games. He hasn't been scoring goals, and we just haven't been winning games. So we kind of looked at this thinking, right, Chelsea, we ain't going to win a game. We ain't going to win a game for now 4 games. To get a win. The only issue that I had was that everyone sort of made it out like it was Chelsea's wrongdoing. When you look at that goal, the first goal, for example, right? Yes, it was a Mendy mistake, but the ball gets played into Jorginho. Declan Rice is pressing him. He's only got one thing to do, is go back to the goalkeeper, but then Mendy's just got to clear his line straight away. And then obviously he takes a touch, we win a penalty. So I feel like West Ham should be a little bit more credited that we've pressed that high up the pitch, because a lot of teams would just be like, you know what, we won't press that high. Jorginho will turn, he's got the whole pitch and he'll pass it to the left wing back or whatnot. We win that penalty. Obviously the third goal was very fortunate, and the second goal from Bowen was
arguably the goal of the game. Yeah, arguably.
No, not quite, but yeah, good goal. But no, disagrees with you strongly. But no, it was a brilliant goal. Seeing Jared Bowen, he's going out with Danny Dyer's.
Yeah, the chant is legendary. Get on Twitter if you haven't seen that, guys.
I need to know it. I need to know it now. Can you tell me, or can you not say it on the?
I can bleep it out. Bowen's on fire, and he's
shagging
Danny Dyer.
Bowen's on fire.
Yeah, I like it.
Fantastic. Yeah, get on Twitter
You're
if you haven't
good for
seen
that.
that, guys.
You're good for that.
West Ham got good
Do you
chance.
still do you, like one of my good mates, a West Ham fan, who does a lot of stuff with BT. Years ago when we were working together, Mikel Antonio had just come into the team, and you were doing a rendition of Salt and Pepper's "Push It" for Mikel Antonio. Is that still going? Do you still do that?
I haven't heard that one
I
recently.
don't think I've heard it.
Something like he went to Forest, he couldn't get a
Yeah, that's
game.
it. Yeah, and it was
he
it is that
played
one.
at left back, it just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
But now he's up front, sit back and watch him go. He plays for West Ham, Mikel
Yeah,
Antonio.
he's right. Yeah,
Du-du-du-du.
I remember
West Ham fans
Watford
gonna be
away.
clipping that up,
Yeah,
mate.
yeah, God, yeah.
You see the West Ham.
I do remember that
Salt and Pepper,
chant.
though. I don't mind anything Salt and Pepper gets a seal of approval from me.
I do remember that chant. It hasn't been sung in
Is it
years.
not? Is it
Now
not
it's just
going
like Antonio.
Yeah,
That's all
right,
we
well,
do
we
now.
used Steve Conte,
Yeah. But the thing is, West Ham right now, the phrase on everyone's lips is West Ham massive. But you are actually.
It's not on anyone's lips.
Well,
It's on
the
everyone's
thing is,
lips. We're massive.
If these guys didn't support West Ham, I actually have like a little bit of soft spot for all the London clubs. I hate Spurs. I don't have a hate for West Ham. Obviously, my brother's links to there. And, and like the fact that your fans are alright and you've never competed with us really.
We're a team full of characters, mate.
It's never been a threat. It's never been a threat. But this season, top four is a realistic goal for you. I think at this point.
I'm
Not
not sure.
after today's news.
No.
Not after
Apparently
today's news.
Zuma's
my
out for the rest of the season.
Oh,
Yeah.
after
And-
Rogbonna.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
apparently
very unfortunate.
potentially both got the same injury,
What, the-
ACL.
The injury when he went off
Yeah,
against James,
the injury.
that was it.
Yeah. Everyone thought it was a hamstring injury.
Yeah,
It's
because
looking like
he was holding like the top of his leg, wasn't he?
Apparently he felt his knee pop.
Oh God, I love Kurt Zouma. I'm gutted for about that.
And,
Yeah.
looks like he's gonna be out for the rest of the season. So now our sort of,
We've gone from being incredibly covered at centre back to now being, the
You're
opposite.
going to have to sign someone. The only good,
Yeah.
there is no good thing here, but the timing isn't like
Yeah.
if the January transfer window just slams shut, for example, it'd be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the fact that you're going into a transfer window now, if the board genuinely believe that there is potential here, if the board are genuinely on board with West Ham's aspirations, prove it.
we've just got
Yeah, we
investment.
need to. Well, I mean, historically, we
Yeah.
haven't. We were in a very. I mean, we weren't doing as well as this last year, but we were in a very similar position at this point last year. Pushing up, the top half of the table. We sold Haller and didn't replace him. We still haven't replaced Haller. So this January window is incredibly important for us because the entire season has, sat on the fence between being a good season if everyone keeps fit, and now we're getting to a point where people are starting to drop off, and we have got a lot of games. We've got a game in Europe on Thursday. So
Realistically, we needed another centre back signing because Ogbonna got injured. Now we need two, and then a striker, and then maybe a midfielder. It's looking like that West Ham are probably going to go in for Tarkowski, I think they'll go back in for
I
him.
don't know if I like that though. I don't know because they wanted 50 million a couple of years ago.
His contract runs out in the summer.
Mad.
I think that'd be a good signing for West Ham, though, Tarkowski.
Yeah, when
Also, from his perspective, it probably, like, when he's looking at other clubs, like looking at the potential in Newcastle, West Ham, very appealing proposition at the moment, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah.
European football, London club is that's what Newcastle are going to struggle with, attractive players, and I think West Ham being in London and being where you're on the
And
table
also,
right now.
with Tarkowski, they suddenly go, look, mate, if you turn up and it really goes well, you'll be playing the Champions League next year.
100%.
England squad,
Well,
possibly.
it's an attractive proposition, but I think you've got to go, haven't you? Rory?
Mate, I've got dinner with my mum in 20 minutes.
Fantastic.
Going for
well,
Chinese with my mum.
Enjoy,
Amazing.
What's
Enjoy
your
your
Chinese
Chinese.
order?
Oh, mate, we get an abundance of
Oh,
stuff.
you're
You know,
a
one
bit
of them.
of
We're
everything.
we're sharers.
Nah,
We're
I'm not
sharers.
sharing.
I mean, there are
Sharers.
staples. There are staples that you have to get.
What's your staple? Give
I
me
mean,
3 staples.
The Peking duck is obviously like to start.
Yeah, of course.
I'd then want some shredded beef in there. That's a necessity.
crispy shredded beef, I'm on board with
Crispy
that.
shredded beef is an essential.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll probably go for sweet and sour chicken
Okay.
as an essential. But then I'm very picky. I treat it like tapas.
Yeah.
So I want everyone to get involved and
We should do Chinese one
share
day.
and share.
Do you know what?
Like, I look
I'm
forward to
very
it.
much. I'm very much like you. We all remember that we've all seen Gavin and Stacey. I'm very much like Smithy whenever it gets to wanting to share the meals.
Yeah,
It's
so
like
no,
no
I'll
one's
get my
touching
own.
my boona.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Is it the equivalent? I haven't seen it. Is it the equivalent of Joey doesn't share food?
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
No, I mean that's not my philosophy around food at all. So we don't share a philosophy around football midfielders, or no, we do share. A
Yeah, we
philosophy
do,
around
yeah.
midfield.
We both
don't.
think-
we don't.
We don't.
But you share food.
Yeah, well, I'd like to have my own bit.
God, mate, we're Chelsea fans.
No,
but
don't
that's
share
where it ends, isn't it?
No.
Thank you so much for having me on this, by the
problem,
way.
mate.
Really
Appreciate it,
really
Rory.
enjoyed it. I'm
Cheers.
always happy to duck in as well whenever you need a gob.
Yeah, love it, mate. Catch you next time.
That's
See you later,
what you,
mate.
See you soon.
Cheers, mate. Appreciate it.